Hey everyone, this is Theo from Headphones.com, and today I'm going to be sharing my review of the Prisma Audio Azul. If you're not familiar with Prisma Audio, they are a one-man show currently based out of Melbourne, Australia. The Azul is their debut model. It is a 2-balanced armature IM that clocks in at roughly $300 USD. The sort of whole leading principle behind the Azul is one of less is more, and today I'm going to be taking a look at how that stacks up in practice. As usual, I want to give full disclaimer that this was lent to me by Super Review. He is a YouTuber and he does a lot of IM reviews as well, so go check him out. That aside, as usual, what follows are my honest thoughts and opinions to the best of my ability. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's go over what you're going to get with the Azul because I really think this is well worth talking about. Here's the packaging that the Azul comes in. You can see that it is a very Apple-like box almost. It's pretty much exactly like the packaging that the Apple AirPods Pro comes in, I think. Inside you can see that you have a metal placard. This one is, I believe, serial number 3, so this is a low count Azul. Maybe it'll be worth something later down the line if Prisma Audio makes it big. Hopefully they do. Over here you have a faux leather case, and this thing is really cute. It is, honestly, in my opinion, the perfect size for storing an IM. It also smells really good. Like, it actually reminds me of genuine leather or full grain leather, despite this not necessarily being real leather. Over here you have a mesh baggie pretty similar to the ones that Campfire Audio uses. The only real difference is this logo here, which sports the Prisma Audio one. And also included is a full set of Azul Sunnet EarFit ear tips. These are, I want to say they're wide bore silicone ear tips, but I didn't have any issues with comfort, and in my opinion these are pretty solid ear tips. The cable that comes with the Azul might just be one of my favorite cables. It is super soft, super pliable, and it's completely non-microphonic. And just in general, I love the attention to detail. You can see that they have their logo on the chin splitter here, and then the pins themselves, they curve at an angle so that you can loop these around your ears more easily. So you can see the Azul in my ear right now. It fits very well. I didn't really have any issues with comfort, and I was able to wear them for hours on end. If we take a look at the Azul itself, you can see that it sports a 3D printed shell mated to an anodized aluminum faceplate. And this has been held in by, I think these are mini Torx screws. So pretty solid construction overall, and I believe these are all made by hand too, which is pretty darn impressive. At the nozzle of the Azul, you have a sort of notch to keep the ear tips in place, and then there is a shower head grill as well to prevent earwax from coming in. Very solid construction overall, and I just love the attention to detail and the accessories that have been included. This is like Apple if Apple actually included accessories. That's basically what this is. Okay, let's talk about the actual sound of the Azul. The Azul follows what I would call a neutral reference tuning. It is brighter, leaner, and it leans towards the upper mid-range and the upper treble regions accordingly. This is not the IM that you're going to want to purchase if you're looking for a IM to jam out with. It is much more closely an IM for people who want to have their sound presented in a clear, virtually uncolored fashion. So there are two IMs that come to mind in particular when we're talking about this sort of neutral reference tuning. They are the Etymotic ER4XR and the High Edition Viento. I will be drawing comparisons to these IMs as I go through my analysis of the Azul. Just in general, I would say that the Azul is more reminiscent of the High Edition Viento when it comes to sound, but the Etymotic ER4XR is going to be the closer point of comparison when it comes to price point. Starting from the bottom, you have balanced armature bass. If you are looking for rumble or slam, you're just not going to find that here because that's not what the Azul is going for. Again, this is a reference tuning. I will say that it has a little bit better texture than most balanced armatures that I've heard, and it will be sufficient for most listeners. But again, if you're looking for an IM to jam out with and you're looking for the best bass in an IM, you're going to want to look elsewhere. Moving into the mid-range, the mid-range is characterized by a fairly lean lower mid-range, and then again, you have a sort of boost to the upper mid-range. That being said, I think this has been done very tastefully, and if you look at the frequency response graph of the Azul relative to the Etymotic ER4XR and the High Edition Viento B, you can see that the Pina compensation and the upper mid-range has been brought down a little. So as a result of this, the Azul sort of avoids the shoutiness that could sometimes characterize those IMs. In terms of intangible performance though, I would say that the Azul leans much more towards the High Edition Viento side of things. It has quite a lot of grit to its decay, or what some might call note texture in more pleasant terms. I have a sort of love-hate relationship with this. For example, on something like Dierks Bentley's Living, I enjoy that sort of roughness to the trailing end of consonances, and that sort of rawness to the sound in general. On the other hand, on something like I Use Blooming, there is sort of an etched quality to a normally smooth, bright vocal timbre that just sounds a little bit more mechanical than I'd like. Now the treble on the Azul is a standout. Despite what you might read on a lot of other reviews, I'm pretty much of the opinion that the vast majority of IMs under $500 do not have good treble extension. By contrast, the Azul has terrific treble extension in air. In fact, I want to say it almost has a little bit too much. The attack on it is just very, very incisive, and in general, I think it's sort of towing that line, especially when I'm listening at higher volumes. But on the other hand, if you are a treble head, well, you're definitely going to like the Azul. On the whole, from a tuning standpoint, I think the Azul has sort of nailed down the framework of a reference IM. This is a very solidly tuned IM, and as long as you know what you're looking for, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find fault with the Azul's tuning. Okay, let's talk about technical performance. In general, I would say that the Azul is pretty competent for $300, but at the same time, it is decidedly not best in class. The biggest issue, the way I see it currently, is the Azul's imaging performance. It has a very width-oriented, two-dimensional stage, and most of all, there is a distinct lack of center image. So stuff like drums, vocals, stuff like that, they're really inside your head, and I believe I cited a similar issue with the Galaxy Buds Pro a while back. For sheer detail though, I think the Azul is pretty good. I would say it's just a step behind the Etymotic ER4 XR. Considering that the ER4 XR is probably the most resolving single balanced armature IM that I've heard, that's not too shabby. That aside, what would stand out most about the Azul is its macrodynamic performance. I have talked about macrodynamics before, but just as a quick refresher, in any given track there are decibel peaks and valleys. Macrodynamics then are a reference to the way an IM is able to scale these gradations. The Azul has pretty good macrodynamic contrast, and when I say this, a good example is the song Weight of the World. On this track, the Azul lacks that sense of immediacy, that sense of macrodynamic punch that something like the Focal Clear has, but when it comes to the quiet and loud sections of the song, the Azul is quiet when it should be and it is loud when it should be. This is in stark contrast to a lot of balanced armature IMs, which have a sort of upwards compressed quality to the way they ride these dynamic swings. That the Azul has managed to circumvent this quality, if only marginally, is pretty commendable in my opinion. And all the more so when you consider that macrodynamics are largely what qualify engagement factor in my opinion. Okay, let's do a little wrap up. I would be lying if I said my preferences lied with the Azul's sound signature. It's just a fact that I don't like these type of tunings in general, and I gravitate towards warmer, more engaging tunings. But within the context of what the Azul was going for, I think it's done a great job. And stack on all those dope accessories, and you have one hell of a package. This is pretty much my default recommendation now if someone wants that sort of ER4 XR type of sound, but doesn't want to deal with the fit memes. And just in general, even from a sonic standpoint, I think I would take the Azul over the ER4 XR. In general, this is a solid thumbs up for me. As always, I hope you guys found this video review informative, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.